On the 8th of February, poets, academics, artists, and students from across the world gathered at the University of British Columbia to share their experiences of mass violence. These performances were the finale of a day-long event.
In the wake, the past that is not the present reappears.
Earlier in the day, the artists and academics held a roundtable discussion where the topics of memory and responsibility were at the forefront.
In the wake, the cure is not apparent.
The roundtable was hosted by professors Cheryl Lightfoot, Aaron Baines, and Pilar Riaño Alcalá.
But they're
How
still
do
there.
archival practices of memory enact responsibility?
The roundtable is inspired by questions of how we can live together after acts of mass violence like disaster, genocide, colonialism, and armed conflict.
Confront us to our responsibility to one another.
Historically, when mass violence occurs, the reasons and motives and memories are often forgotten, and sometimes they're even suppressed or changed.
That happened, and it has been a very politicized process. For instance, in the place, one of the massacres we documented in Balonio, the community will tell you that over 1,000 people were massacred by the rebels in one day. On that monument, it is written that here lie the souls of 109 innocent victims that were massacred by the rebels. To try and downplay it so that the gravity is not as bad.
This was a major theme that governments and militaries often try and suppress or purposely misremember the acts of mass violence as a way of trivializing the pain that survivors feel.
Our war, there are no heroes, and even if the military won the war, they're losing the war in the historical memory. And who's behind
Gesture,
this?
mental sentimental culture, vulture going against the grain disgusts her. Her gentle touch is calm.
So we're really the enemy now. You know, we've become the enemy.
This power struggle around who gets to write the history of atrocities means that certain groups of people are often vilified.
The military see us as the new enemy in a new field of war, which is spraying around the historical memory narratives and disputes.
Guilt and blame are obstacles to reconciliation that transitional justice tries to address. But cooperation between victims and perpetrators is often fragile.
Because they were accusing each other of committing crimes in the war at the same time that they denied each other's legitimacy to be in that particular space. So
When
just a basic
accusations and
example,
punishment
they will
dominate in the
accuse,
aftermath of violence, victims continue to suffer in the wake of injustice.
The government there will accuse Renamo members that you don't deserve to be here because you were criminals. You were created by the South African apartheid. You were supported by the Rhodesians. So you don't have legitimacy, you don't have the right to be here, even if the people voted you to be here. So they really started to use memories as weapons, and over time.
The legacy of violence left behind by systems like apartheid and residential schools does not end when the physical violence comes to a stop. It is something that survivors continue to endure and resist in their everyday lives.
We're reclaiming what we've already had, and that we're reclaiming our voice, we're reclaiming our land, we're reclaiming our ceremonies, we're reclaiming who we are as a people, and also giving credit to elders and our language holders and our knowledge holders and those who have never given it up, the resilient people.
The length of sentence could be unprecedented.
After the roundtable concluded, the speakers walked over to the First Nations Longhouse for the evening event. There, they had the opportunity to share their research with an audience. This was a space for participants to share their stories in whatever way they chose. Some spoke, some sang. There was drumming, art, and reflection. And a few performances explicitly confronted the audience with the harsh realities of living with everyday racism.
And so now was the right time. It was the right time, nigger. It was the right time, nigger. Like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, who the hell do you even know who I am? Like, call the cops. I'm not scared of the cops. Like, whatever, motherfucker. I listen to Wu-Tang. Like, whatever, man. I love rap and jazz. Like, whatever, man. Rap saved my life. Not like this shit. Not like you, motherfucker. Not like nigger. Like nigger. Like nigger. Like, go back to where you come from. I ain't scared of the cops. Like, bitch.
One art installation asked people to create meaning out of fridge poetry. It took apart the words of past laws and documents that had once inflicted violence. The project showed that the rule of law can itself be an obstacle to achieving justice.
Statement, I keep problematic the assumption that that justice equals law. And in many ways, one of the things that we're actually seeing is the emergence of other ways of conceptualizing justice, not simply that of legality.
Each storyteller was grappling with the question, how can we be together after doing harm to each other?
And I was asked to consider how do we remain and come back into our bodies as we have conversations about reconciliation.
The night culminated in some emotional moments brought forth by intimate performances.
And this is the vulnerability of what artists do, right? When we move into that place, sometimes we don't come back. Sometimes we cry. But sometimes we do what we need to do.
Listen, my man.
Listen, my man. Now suave. Players if I stop the clock. That's my bread and butter listed in my capital stock. Make it legs better thinking outside the box. Call me a sharpshooter, harpooner. Never catch me if you're late, son. Start sooner. What does it really mean to live in the wake of colonialism?
Listen, my man.
Do we sit idly and wait patiently like good Canadians, as if you mentioned?
Be a star.
Or do we get cocky and a little bit bold and make the change that we want to see?
Listen, Mike man.
I don't have the answer to those questions.
Listen, Mike man. I love the lullaby.
But maybe it's something to think about.
Listen, Mike man. I love the lullaby.
Diet could be beneficial. Issues stemming from that excess. You're in a pickle, baby, blow the whistle. Can't deny the presence of the essence when it's in you. Simply unmistakable, you'll know when it's official. Raining heavy missiles, even children carry pistols. Streets are lined with needles, danger from the little devil. Formulas are simple, the morality's a riddle. Live a little, flip the product, reap the fruits of evil. Nobody wants you when you're down.